I should have known something was off when my son started calling him Uncle Chris again. Chris hadn't been Uncle anything for the last 2 years. Not since the blow-up over that fishing trip he bailed on, or the awkward Christmas where he showed up 2 hours late with a box of gas station cookies and a hangover. After that, the kids dropped the Uncle label faster than I dropped my blood pressure meds when he walked into the room. But suddenly, Uncle Chris was back. Uncle Chris helped me fix my bike chain. Uncle Chris says Gatorade's bad for you. Uncle Chris showed me a better way to throw a spiral. That last one hit deep. Teaching my son how to throw a football was supposed to be my thing. It's one of those classic dad rights they don't write down, but every guy knows is sacred. You don't mess with the spiral. So yeah, that was the first red flag. Not the kind you wave in someone's face. The kind that sits in the corner of your mind, waiting for backup. Chris and I grew up in the same cul-de-sac. We used to ride bikes until the streetlights came on, built forts out of trash and imagination, and once buried a time capsule under the Wilson's shed that probably just contains melted army men and a cassette tape of us swearing. We were closer than brothers. So close, I was the best man at his first wedding. Spoiler, that marriage didn't last long. Neither did the second. My wife, Emily, never liked him at first. She used to call him your chaotic little shadow. I used to defend him. Say he just needed structure. Someone to believe in him. Well, turns out he needed something else. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind to 3 weeks ago. I was out in the front yard, trying to get our cursed sprinkler system to stop flooding the flower beds like a busted fire hydrant. Emily was inside supposedly helping our daughter with a school project. Chris, according to the text he sent me earlier that day, was in Flagstaff for work. Funny thing about sprinkler work, it's dirty, mindless, and gives you time to think. And while I was elbow deep in PVC parts and mud, trying to swap out a busted valve, I heard Emily and someone else laughing from the backyard. Loud laughing. That high-pitched, open-throated kind she usually only reserved for wine night with her sister or episodes of The Bachelor. I rounded the corner, expecting to see her on the phone. Instead, I got Chris, shirtless, standing by the hose, holding a beer. My beer. She was in a sundress. He had a towel around his neck. There was a half-deflated pool flow tie by their feet, and the grass around them looked freshly soaked. I blinked. Thought you were out of town, I said. Chris turned, casual as anything, not even flinching. Job got rescheduled. Figured I'd swing by. Emily gave me a tight smile. The kids asked him to come over. Yeah, sure they did. I nodded, filed the image away, and went back to the garage. But the thing that got me, more than the laugh, the beer, or the pool flow tie, was the ink. Matching tattoos. Small. On their ribs. Barely visible under the edge of their shirts. Black script. Identical. Now, I'm not a jealous guy. I don't stalk her socials. I don't go sniffing through her purse like a soap opera husband with trust issues. But I know tattoos. I have 3. One of them is the coordinates of the cabin where I proposed. Another's a dumb inside joke between me and Chris. A tiny screwdriver on my ankle, because he once dared me to fix a lawnmower drunk and I nearly cut off my foot. So yeah, tattoos mean something. And the fact that they were both hiding these matching little mysteries? That's when I started paying attention. That night, I waited until she was asleep. Took her phone from the charger like I was just checking the time. No password. She never needed one. That's how solid we were. Or how confident she was. Messages were clean. Almost too clean. Nothing suspicious in texts, emails, photos. But when I looked at her calendar, I noticed something weird. She had 3 appointments labeled PT, lower back. Scheduled every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. Problem was, I'd seen her lower back. There was no brace. No stretches. No heat packs. No complaints. Just smooth skin and a new tan line. And when I clicked into one of the entries, the location wasn't her usual PT office. It was a park. The one 2 towns over. Near that weird sculpture that looks like a melting coffee cup. I didn't blow up. Didn't yell. Didn't even wake her up. I just sat there, thinking. Because when your kids start calling the man you used to call brother, uncle, again, after years of cold distance, and your wife suddenly starts laughing at his jokes again, and they're matching tattoos and pretending like it's a coincidence. Yeah, you start to draw lines. Connect dots. Sketch out the betrayal in your mind like a crime scene. The next morning, I made breakfast. Eggs. Toast. Fruit slices cut into stars for Max and hearts for Lila. Emily kissed my cheek and told me I was sweet. Chris texted me a meme about fantasy football, and I smiled, because I'd already called the local AV rental place. Ordered a projector, big screen, Bluetooth speaker, high lumens, outdoor ready. Delivery date? July 3rd. Because if they wanted fireworks, I was going to give them a show. There's a kind of quiet that only happens in small towns right before a holiday, like the air itself is holding its breath before someone lights a fuse. That's how it felt the week leading up to the 4th of July. The banners were up early this year, faded plastic flags strung between light poles, homemade signs taped to porch rails, and the annual hand-painted plywood eagle someone's grandpa carted out every July like it was a family heirloom. Our street always went all out. Neighborhood potlucks, three-legged races, beer coolers bigger than kiddie pools. We even had one of those ridiculous bouncy castles some local guy rented at a discount for the kids, but everyone knew the adults used it after dark. We'd hosted the block party 3 times in the last 6 years. Emily loved that. Said it made us pillars of the neighborhood. I used to believe that was a good thing. This year, Emily was in full party mode again, which, in hindsight, was maybe clue number 47 that she thought I was as clueless as she hoped I'd stay. She planned the menu, printed custom paper labels for every dish, even the damn potato salad, and designed a Spotify playlist she titled Stars, Stripes, and Bangers. Her words, not mine. Chris showed up on July 2nd. Just walked through the back gate like it was his house too. I was in the garage when I heard his voice, that familiar low chuckle that used to mean we got away with something, and now just made me want to bury a socket wrench in the drywall. Yo, he called. Got a minute? I turned, holding a drill. Chris stood in his classic uniform, backwards hat, sunglasses on top, cargo shorts, and that stupid grin that had gotten him into and out of trouble since 3rd grade. Figured I'd help set up, he said. I nodded. Sure. You can carry chairs. He blinked. Probably expected a handshake or at least a bro nod. I gave him nothing. Just walked past him, handed him a stack of folding chairs, and went back to pretending I didn't know he was banging my wife. Over the next 2 hours, he lingered, helped Lila string up lights on the porch, tossed a football with Max, joked with the neighbors like he lived there. And the kids? They were fine. Too fine. Like they were trying to keep up a performance they'd rehearsed too many times. That night, after they went to bed, I checked Max's iPad. Not because I wanted to snoop, but because I had a hunch. He's a smart kid, smarter than he lets on. And unlike Emily, he actually uses passcodes. But kids aren't subtle. His code was 1776. God bless America. Inside, buried in a folder labeled Skate Tricks, were 7 videos. Short clips, phone footage, and every single one had Chris in it. One was him walking into our house while I was at work, Emily peeking out from the curtain before unlocking the door. Another showed them sitting together on the patio, sipping something out of the same cup, her hand brushing his. The worst one, Chris walking shirtless out of our master bathroom, toweling off his hair, while Emily stood in the hallway wearing one of my old t-shirts, the one with the cabin logo we got on our honeymoon. I watched that one twice, not because I needed to confirm it, but because I needed to remember what rage felt like without acting on it. I went downstairs. Max was eating cereal at the kitchen counter, even though it was nearly midnight. I sat down beside him, didn't say anything at first. He looked up, spoon halfway to his mouth. You mad? I'm calm. Does Mom know you know? Not yet. He nodded. I let the silence hang. Why'd you film them? He shrugged. At first I thought it was weird. Then I wanted proof. Just in case you didn't believe me. I stared at him. How long have you known? He looked away. A while. I swallowed. And your sister? She's known longer. I leaned back in my chair. Max dropped his spoon into the bowl. She calls him Dad sometimes. When you're not around. There it was. The twist in the knife. Did you tell her to stop? He nodded. She told me I was being immature. Said I didn't get it. I did now. Not just the affair, but the betrayal on every level. The layers. My wife. My best friend. My daughter. It would have been easier if it were just about sex. Just about sneaking around. But this was psychological. This was them rebuilding a whole narrative behind my back. And somehow my son, my quiet, observant, way too mature for his age son, was the only one who decided to stay on my side of the truth. Max, I said. He looked up. Want to help me make a movie? His face broke into a grin. The next morning, we got to work. I pulled all the videos from his iPad, dropped them into my laptop, and showed him how to edit. Nothing fancy. Just enough to clean the cuts, boost the sound, and add slow zooms for dramatic effect. We made a title screen, Home Visits with Uncle Chris. Each clip got a date stamp. Each scene built the story, like a mini documentary of betrayal, filmed from a child's point of view. Max added background music. Low, eerie piano notes. He was having too much fun. We exported the final video by sundown. 12 minutes long. Small file size. Big bomb. I set up the projector that night in the garage, disguised in a stack of party supplies. Ran a cord under the lawn. Synced the Bluetooth speaker. Everything would be triggered from a button in my pocket. The cover? A fireworks montage I downloaded from YouTube. No one would suspect a thing. By the morning of July 4th, I felt oddly calm. Emily buzzed around like a Pinterest host on meth. Where's the flag cake? In the fridge. Did you clean the grill? Yep. Do we have extra paper towels? Yes, Em. She paused long enough to kiss me. On the cheek. No eye contact. Fake affection. Just for the guests. It used to mean something. Now it was stage makeup. By 6 p.m., the street was packed. Everyone brought their kids, their dogs, their lukewarm casseroles. The bouncy castle deflated twice. A toddler puked into a solo cup. American suburbia in full glory. Chris showed up around 6:45, carrying a tray of hot wings and wearing a t-shirt that said Grill Sergeant. He winked at Emily. I caught it. So did Max. Lila floated around him like a satellite. I counted down in my head. At 8:55, Emily tapped her glass and shouted, "Fireworks in 5 minutes." Everyone cheered. Lawn chairs repositioned. Phones raised. I walked to the garage, clicked the remote, and hit play. Max stood beside me. You ready? I asked. He nodded. Let's light it up. And we did. The screen lit up. Music played. The neighbors leaned forward. Then the footage began. Chris, walking into my house. Emily, meeting him in a towel. Chris, pouring wine. Sitting on my couch. Kissing her. Gasps. Someone dropped a plate. Emily froze. Beer bottle halfway to her lips. Chris blinked. Turned to me. What the hell is this? He said. I smiled. Fireworks. There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels charged. Like the whole world just inhaled and forgot how to exhale. That was the silence after the first 3 clips rolled. The screen flickered, stuttered for a second, then continued on. Chris at the back door. Emily adjusting her robe. The timestamp neatly labeled in the corner. 2:04 p.m. Tuesday. A PT day. And then the real kicker. My own daughter, Lila, opening the front door with a backpack on, walking past Chris like she didn't even register him as strange. That hit the crowd harder than anything else. It was proof. Proof that this wasn't just a fling. This was routine. Institutionalized. Like brushing teeth or reheating coffee. They'd all known. I stood at the edge of the yard, arms crossed. Not smug. Not angry. Just still. Emily was 2 steps in front of the snack table, frozen like a deer that just heard the click of a rifle's safety. One hand gripped a paper plate of cupcakes so tightly, red and blue frosting was oozing out the side. Chris? Chris had his hands on his hips, glancing left and right like he was looking for the camera crew. You could see the calculation behind his eyes. How do I spin this? Can I laugh it off? Blame the edit? Max was standing next to the speaker, arms folded, wearing a shirt with the Statue of Liberty flipping the bird. That was his idea. He said it'd be on theme. We were 2 minutes into the 12-minute video, and no one had blinked. I let it play. The next clip was darker, lower light, indoors. Chris walking down the hallway of my house with no shirt, wearing plaid pajama pants. He was barefoot, carrying a glass of orange juice. Casual as Sunday morning. Emily followed behind, also barefoot, in one of my old sweatshirts. The one from our 10-year anniversary trip to Asheville. People gasped. Someone said Jesus Christ under their breath. Emily turned toward me. Her mouth opened. No words came out. Instead, the screen cut to a wide shot. Chris and Emily curled up on the couch. Emily scrolling on her phone. Chris kissing the side of her neck. Then a close-up. A real close-up. Of the tattoos. Both of them. Same design. Same spot. Black script across the ribs. No secrets. Now that got the crowd talking. A ripple of murmurs went through the neighborhood like static across a wire. Tammy, our next-door neighbor who runs the church bake sale, put her hand over her mouth. Someone else said, "Is this real?" And then Lila's voice cut through it all. "Can you turn it off now?" she snapped. Everyone turned. She stood in the middle of the yard, arms stiff at her sides, red-faced, humiliated. Not because of the cheating, not because of the lies, but because I was airing it out. Lila, Emily tried. No, you don't get to say anything right now, Mom. The air shifted. Lila turned toward me, eyes blazing. Why are you doing this? Why now? I didn't answer. Instead, the video kept rolling. A clip of Chris arriving one Saturday morning at 9 a.m. measured, high-quality audio. Chris, he's at work. Emily, yup. Double shift. Chris, laughs perfect. Lila closed her eyes. You said you deleted that one, she muttered. There it was. Confirmation. Max stiffened beside me. People caught that too. The confession. The involvement. Gasps again. More intense now. The weight had shifted, less about betrayal, more about complicity. She knew. She'd been in on it. She helped keep the door closed, the lies straight, the timing right. My daughter. She wasn't 10. She wasn't naive. She was 17 years old. Smart. Calculated. Loyal, to them. Max whispered something to himself. I leaned in. You okay? He nodded. She lied to me too. I squeezed his shoulder. The last clip played. Chris and Emily leaving the house together, hand in hand. No rush. No guilt. Just comfortable. The screen went black. Then the text appeared. Happy 4th. Hope you enjoyed the fireworks. N. Applause broke out. Not wild. Not loud. The slow, uncomfortable clap of people who don't know what else to do. Then, from the back, I heard it, a laugh. Not mine. Not Max's. But Katie, from 3 houses down. Middle-aged, divorced, and the nosiest person on the block. Damn, she said. I thought I was petty. That broke the tension. A few chuckles. Nervous laughter. The kind of laughter that says this isn't happening to me. Thank God. Chris stepped forward. Okay, you've made your point, he said. Can we shut this off now? It's already off, I said. But feel free to explain yourself. Microphone's right there. He glared. Emily didn't move. She looked at me, dead on, for the first time in weeks. And what I saw wasn't guilt. It was loss. She'd known, deep down, that I'd find out. She just didn't think I'd make a spectacle of it. And that was always the difference between us. She lied quietly. I tell the truth loud enough to echo. Lila stormed off into the house. Emily followed. Chris lingered. People started to scatter. The party was over. Not because it ended, but because everything else had. I found Max later that night in the garage, sitting on the hood of my truck with a bottle of root beer and his phone. He looked at me. You think she's really gone this time? He asked. I didn't answer. Because the truth is, Emily had always been halfway gone. Long before the affair. Long before Chris. She'd been erasing herself for years. Swapping stability for thrill. Loyalty for nostalgia. Truth for whatever felt better at the time. She wasn't gone now. She just stopped pretending. Max sipped his drink. I'm glad we did it. Me too. Even if Lila hates us. I shook my head. She doesn't hate us. She's just not ready to admit she picked the wrong side. He nodded. That was a good cut, by the way, I said. The piano music really sold it. He smiled, just a little. Thought so too. We sat in silence for a while. Then he asked, You think she'll come back? Mom, she'll try. And what about Chris? I sighed. He'll spin it. Probably say it was just emotion, or closure, or some other garbage. But he won't come back here. Why not? Because he knows I know now. And once that mask breaks, guys like him disappear. Max nodded again. More confident this time. We sat under the stars, the distant sound of other people's fireworks cracking in the air like punctuation marks on better stories. But ours wasn't over. Not yet. The morning after the fireworks show was quieter than any 4th of July I could remember. Usually, the neighborhood would still be buzzing. Kids chasing each other with sparklers, hungover dads arguing over leftover burgers, someone inevitably lighting off one last Roman candle just to piss off the HOA. But this year, dead silence. Nobody rang the doorbell. Nobody stopped by to borrow eggs. Even Katie from 3 houses down kept her blinds drawn. It was like the whole block was holding its breath, waiting to see what happened next in the weirdest soap opera they never asked to be part of. Emily didn't come home. She didn't even text. Not to apologize. Not to explain. Not to scream. Which, in its own way, was worse. It meant she'd been preparing for this. Probably had a bag packed in Chris's truck already. Probably had a dozen what-if scenarios in her head, and mine was just one of the many endings she knew might happen. But the one thing she hadn't counted on? Max. The kid had steel in him. Quiet steel, but steel all the same. After the show, he didn't cry. He didn't ask questions. He just sat on the porch with a root beer, stared up at the sky, and said, well, that was cooler than any fireworks. Lila, on the other hand, was a different story. She stayed in her room all day. Door locked. Blinds closed. I only knew she was alive because I could hear Taylor Swift leaking through her headphones. Around 3 p.m., I knocked. No answer. Lila, I said through the door. You want dinner? Nothing. I'm ordering Chinese. You want sesame chicken? A pause. Then, I want you to stop ruining everything. Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't even loud. Just flat. Like a cracked windshield. Still holding together, but barely. I sighed. I didn't ruin anything. I just revealed it. You humiliated her. She humiliated herself. I just hit play. She was going to tell you. She was. I didn't respond. Because maybe she was. But we both knew eventually is the favorite word of cowards. She told me you were always too boring, Lila continued. That you never saw her. Not really. That stung. Not because it was true, but because it was so easy to believe in hindsight. I saw her, I said. I just didn't think I had to compete with my best friend to keep my wife interested. She's happier with him. Is that what she told you? She didn't have to. Then why didn't she leave? Silence. Why lie? Why sneak around? Why make you and Max pretend everything was normal? Still nothing. I stepped away from the door. Food's here in 20. Text me if you change your mind. That night, after Max went to bed, I poured myself a drink and sat in the backyard. Just me and the ghosts of all the times I'd grilled burgers on this patio while Chris cracked jokes and Emily topped off everyone's drinks like she was auditioning for a perfect life. We'd built something here. Or at least, I thought we had. Turns out, it was a movie set. All facade, no foundation. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Hey. Emily's voice said, soft and cautious. You free to talk? I let the silence stretch until it got uncomfortable. Are you going to apologize? I finally asked. A pause. Does it matter? It does to me. Another pause. Then, I'm sorry. Which part? For not being honest. For dragging the kids into it. For letting you find out like that. So not for the affair? She hesitated. I'm not sorry for how I feel, she said. I'm sorry for how I handled it. I laughed once. Quiet and sharp. You handled it? You know what I mean. I stood up, walked to the edge of the yard, looked up at the stars. Where are you? Chris's place. For now. Is that where you've been going? Every PT appointment. She sighed. Sometimes. Not every time. Well, that clears it up. She shifted tones. Lila's not speaking to me. She's barely speaking to anyone. I didn't want to put her in the middle. You didn't have to. She climbed in willingly. I never asked her to lie for me. No, but you let her. That hung between us like smoke. She finally said, so what happens now? You mean us? Yeah. There is no us, Em. That ended when I saw the tattoo. She was quiet. I want a divorce, I said. Silence. Then, okay. Not why. Not please don't. Just okay. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'll send papers next week. Will I still see Max? If he wants to see you. And Lila? I exhaled slowly. Lila's almost grown. You'll have to ask her yourself. She didn't argue. Just said, good night, and hung up. The next day, Lila came downstairs. Hair in a messy bun. Hoodie on. Eyes red and puffy. She didn't say anything. Just sat at the table, poured herself cereal, and started eating. Max joined us 5 minutes later. Sat across from her. Said nothing. Halfway through his frosted flakes, he looked up. You knew, he said. Lila froze. Max's voice didn't waver. You knew, and you helped her lie to Dad. Lila set her spoon down. She told me not to say anything. That's not an excuse. She said she was going to end it. You still lied. I didn't want to hurt him. Then why'd you let me be the one to tell him? Lila's jaw clenched. You let me carry it, Max said. You let me show the video. You hid. Like a coward. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't say anything. I let them talk. I figured they'd been waiting too long. I'm sorry, she whispered. For me or for you? I don't know. Max stood up. Took his bowl to the sink. Rinsed it. Then he looked at me. I'm gonna go ride my bike. I nodded. Lila didn't move. I cleared my throat. He's right, you know. I know. You broke more than just my trust. I know. You have to earn it back. From both of us. She nodded, eyes on the table. I'll start with the dishes, she mumbled. That afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. Neat cursive. It was from Chris. Because of course it was. Dear Nate, you probably won't read this. But I needed to try. I didn't plan for this to happen. You were my brother. You still are, in a weird way. Emily, and I didn't mean to hurt you. But feelings aren't always controllable. I hope someday you'll understand. I hope Max and Lila don't hate me forever. I hope you don't hate me forever. See, I crumpled it, tossed it in the fire pit. Didn't light it. Just left it there. Let the wind do what it wanted with it. Because forgiveness isn't something you mail in. And I wasn't mailing mine back. Chris's letter sat in the fire pit for 2 days. The wind curled its edges. A drizzle smudged the ink. By the 3rd day, it looked more like a used napkin than an apology. I left it there, untouched, like a little monument to everything that used to be true and now wasn't. You can learn a lot about people when you don't speak. And lately, I'd learned enough. Emily had gone radio silent again after that phone call. No texts, no updates, no mention of the divorce papers I told her were coming. If she thought I was bluffing, she was more delusional than I gave her credit for. Meanwhile, the neighborhood was cautiously resuming its normal rhythms. People were back to walking dogs, watering lawns, pretending they hadn't just watched a man implode his marriage with a home movie on Independence Day. I could feel them watching me, though, from porches, behind half-closed blinds, from the corners of their conversations. Nobody asked questions, but they all wanted answers. Max handled it better than I did. He went back to playing basketball at the park, biking around town, texting his friends like nothing happened. But I could see it in his face, the way he carried himself a little heavier now. Like betrayal had given him weight. Lila, on the other hand, was a shadow. She stayed indoors mostly, tiptoed around the house like a guest in her own home. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, always measured, like she was afraid any wrong word might trigger another explosion. She cleaned, did chores I didn't ask her to, made dinner twice, folded Max's laundry, even though he gave her a look like she'd offered him poison. I just want things to be normal again, she said once while setting the table. Things were never normal, I replied. And that was the end of it. A few days later, I got a text from Emily. Let me talk to Lila. Alone. I stared at it for a full minute. It wasn't a request. It was a command. She still thought she had leverage. Still believed that motherhood gave her some permanent backstage pass to these kids' lives, regardless of what she'd done on stage. I wrote back, ask her, and left it at that. That night, Emily showed up. No warning. Just the soft hum of tires in the driveway and the faint knock at the front door, polite, rehearsed, like she was delivering Girl Scout cookies instead of trying to glue her life back together. Max was in his room. Lila was on the couch, earbuds in, eyes locked on some trashy teen drama that probably mirrored her life a little too closely now. I opened the door. Emily stood there in jeans and a sweater, hair tied up, face clean. No makeup, no jewelry. Just her and whatever version of the truth she'd decided to wear that day. Is she here? She asked. She's on the couch. Can I talk to her? You're not banned. Just be honest. She gave me a look that could have been offense or embarrassment. I couldn't tell anymore, and stepped past me. Lila looked up, took out one earbud, said nothing. Emily sat beside her, keeping a full cushion's width between them. I stayed in the kitchen. Out of sight, not out of earshot. Hey, sweetheart, Emily said softly. Hey, you okay? Lila shrugged. I guess. I wanted to see you. Talk to you. Okay. Another long pause. I could practically hear Emily searching for the right tone, the right wording, like this was a job interview and not a mother begging for access. I miss you, she said. Lila didn't respond. Emily tried again. This mess. I never meant for it to touch you. I wanted to protect you from it. You made me lie, Lila said quietly. That wasn't protection. I didn't make you. You let me. Same thing. Emily exhaled. You said you understood. That you saw how unhappy I was. I thought you'd tell him. I was trying. It's not that simple. It was for Max. I winced. That one hit like a nail through the floorboards. Emily paused. You're angry. I get that. I'm not angry, Lila said. I'm just done. Done with what? Being in the middle. Emily's voice cracked. I'm your mom. You were his wife. Silence again. Heavy. Dense. Then Lila got up. Walked into the kitchen. Can I go stay at Aunt Jen's? She asked me. Tonight. For a few days. Just need space. I looked past her at Emily, who hadn't moved. Text her, I said. If she's okay with it, I'll drive you over. Lila nodded, pulled out her phone, and walked upstairs. Emily followed her with her eyes. She hates me. No, I said. She resents you. That's worse. Hatred fades. Resentment sticks. Emily looked at the floor. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I turned toward her. You think this is fun for me? She didn't answer. You think this is some kind of victory? You humiliated me in front of everyone. No, you humiliated yourself. I just showed the footage. She crossed her arms. I was trying to find myself again. I felt invisible, like a ghost in my own house. And Chris made you feel seen. He made me feel something. I nodded. Well, now everyone sees you. She flinched. We stood there in silence, the weight of 20 years pressing against us like a collapsing roof. Then she said, I want to come back. I blinked. Excuse me. I want to fix this. For the kids. For us. I shook my head. You can't. I know it'll take time, but no, Em. You can't. There's no time to fix what you blew up with your childhood reunion turned softcore romance. Don't be cruel. I'm being honest. Something you clearly struggle with. She stepped forward. I still love you. I laughed. It came out sharper than I intended. No, you don't. You miss the structure. You miss the stability. You miss not being the villain. But love? That left a long time ago. Same day you decided the man who peed in our backyard during a barbecue was soulmate material. She opened her mouth, closed it again. I'll sign whatever you send, she said quietly. I nodded. I already sent it. Check your email. She turned to go, paused at the door. I hope one day the kids forgive me. They might, I said, but I won't. And with that, she walked out of the house for the last time. It's funny how quiet a house gets after the drama leaves. Not peaceful, not empty, just quiet. Like it's waiting. Like the walls are listening for whatever might break next. But there was nothing left to break. Emily was gone. Not just sleeping at Chris's gone. Not left a few sweaters in the closet gone. I mean gone. Divorce papers sent. Acknowledgement returned. Her toothbrush disappeared. Her key left on the entry table with a little sticky note that said, Tell Max I love him. Tell Lilo I'll wait. I didn't tell them either of those things. Because by now, they already knew what was worth remembering. Max was the first to adjust. He filled the empty space with basketball, bike rides, video games, and an almost compulsive need to be outside. I didn't question it. Movement was how he healed. He was quiet, but focused. Sometimes I'd catch him sitting on the porch steps, staring at the neighborhood like it owed him an answer. Lila was slower. She stayed at her Aunt Jen's for a week. During that time, we barely texted. I didn't push. Jen kept me updated, said she mostly read, kept to herself, cried once or twice, didn't talk about her mom. I think she was trying to figure out who she'd been helping all that time. Betrayal's hardest when you do it for someone who doesn't deserve it. When she finally came home, she looked older. Not physically. Same tired eyes, same chipped nail polish, same oversized hoodie. But something in her posture had shifted. Less defiant. More grounded. Like gravity finally caught up to her. She walked in, tossed her bag by the stairs, and said, So what now? And that question hung in the air like a slow-burning fuse. I didn't have a poetic answer. No wise monologue. No dramatic music playing behind me. Just, we make breakfast. Then we clean the garage. Then we start over. She nodded. Okay. The garage project started 2 days later. A mess of old paint cans, bikes that no longer fit, boxes labeled winter and don't touch, and Chris's junk. Yes, that Chris. He'd left a toolbox here years ago, and I hadn't thrown it out. Maybe it was symbolic. Or maybe I just didn't want to touch it. Max joined us with that look on his face. Half curious, half, please don't make me organize anything. We spent hours tossing stuff, sorting things into piles, taking breaks to argue about whether an old cooler was salvageable or if a box of tangled Christmas lights was worth keeping. It was the closest thing we'd had to a normal day in months. Then Max found it. Hey, Dad. I turned, arms full of broken rollerblades. He held up a framed photo. Dusty, bent in one corner. One of those old-style portrait shots we'd done at a Sears before they went out of business. It was the four of us. Me, Emily, Max, and Lila. All matching sweaters. Forced smiles. Emily's hand on my chest like we were in a toothpaste commercial. Max held it up like it was radioactive. What do we do with this? Lila looked at me. Then at the picture. Trash, she said. Max raised an eyebrow. You sure? Lila nodded. I've got better pictures in my head. So I took it, opened the trash can, dropped it in. No ceremony, no hesitation, just a frame, just a memory. We kept cleaning. Later that night, Max came into the kitchen while I was making grilled cheese. He leaned on the counter. I have a question, he said. Shoot. You think Mom ever actually loved you? I paused, took a breath. I think she loved the idea of me. He squinted. What does that mean? She loved what I gave her. Stability. A family. A house. But real love, the kind that doesn't run when someone else gives you butterflies? I don't think she knew how to hold on to that. He nodded. Do you miss her? Sometimes. But mostly, I miss who I thought she was. That's fair. Then he asked, You think Lila will forgive her? I wiped my hands with a towel. She's your sister. You know her better than I do. Max smiled. She's stubborn. But she's not cruel. Then maybe one day. He nodded, grabbed his sandwich, and walked off like that was the end of it. The next day, Chris showed up. I didn't hear his truck. Didn't get a warning. Just found him standing in my driveway like a raccoon who got too bold. He was dressed too nice. Button-down shirt, clean jeans, like he thought dressing like a grown-up might earn him forgiveness. I stepped outside. He raised a hand in an awkward wave. Hey, he said. Got a minute? Nope. Nate, come on. I just want to talk. I folded my arms. You should have thought about that before you played house with my wife. I know I messed up. No. Messed up is forgetting an anniversary. What you did was deliberate. He looked down. I lost everything too, man. I laughed. Cold. You lost a woman who left her family for a rerun. That's not a tragedy. That's a plot twist. He shifted, uncomfortable. I didn't plan for this. Of course you didn't. You never plan. You just do, and let other people clean up the mess. I'm sorry. Not enough. He tried again. The kids. You don't get to talk about them. But, I said don't. He stepped back. I just wanted to say my piece. You already said it. On video. Over and over. Thanks to my son. He flinched. Good. I'm not gonna punch you, I said. I'm not gonna yell. I'm not even gonna tell you to leave town. Because I want you to stay right here, Chris. I want you to see what you did. Every time someone avoids eye contact with you at the grocery store. Every time you walk past my house and feel like the dirt beneath my lawnmower. I want you to carry it. Like a name tag. Forever. He didn't respond. Just turned and walked away. Didn't even try the dramatic, last word routine. Smart move. A week later, the papers were finalized. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just opened the email, signed the dotted line, and put my phone face down. That night, Max and Lila and I watched a movie. Something dumb and loud with too many explosions and a plot so thin, it made all of us laugh. We didn't talk about Emily. We didn't talk about Chris. We didn't talk about what comes next. We just existed. Together. Later, after they went to bed, I stepped outside and sat on the porch. The stars were out. The air was still. And for the first time in a long time, I felt it. Not peace. Not closure. But something better. Control. The story wasn't over. But this chapter was mine. The end. Subscribe to the channel